Hey guys, Lord here, back again with another review. Today we'll be taking a look at the Mattel Masterverse Masters of the Universe Revelation Stinkor. Now before we get started here, let us first take a look-see at both the front and the back of the packaging. So without further ado, let's get into it. Now before we get into the meat and taters of this review, the Stinkor does come with a few accessories. First up, Stinkor does come with 4 interchangeable hands, the first of which being a pair of grip hands. The second of which is this singular fist hand and singular relaxed hand. Not quite sure why he didn't come with one of each for both sides, but that just seems to be a thing with this line. Some figures come with all 6 hands, some don't. Next up, Stinkor comes with 2 different head sculpts, the first of which is this one right here, the one he comes packaged with without his gas mask. The second head sculpt, which is this one right here, features the gas mask, and it should be worth noting that if we get up close and personal with Stinkor here, you can take that gas mask out. And something I've noticed is that this version of Stinkor has some owl-esque qualities. Let me know if you guys agree with that in the comments below. And last but certainly not least, the Stinkor does come with his trademark blue shield. Now I'm not sure if he used this in the Revelation series, but who's to say it's not sitting somewhere in the pile of garbage he calls home. So with that being said, let us now move on to the aesthetics and articulation. Taking a closer look at this Stinkor here, and while I was posting all of my top 10 videos for 2021, somebody was asking me if I was going to get around to doing a Masterverse top 10 video, and while I'm not 100% positive if I'll get around to that, this guy would definitely make the cut because I absolutely love how this Stinkor figure came out. He looks freaking awesome. I loved him in Revelation. I think Jason Mewes is the perfect choice for a voice for this guy. That or
someone who sounds like they got a clothespin on their nose?
I don't know, I just think that being the walking fart joke of the Masters of the Universe, well, universe, or I guess I could have went with Mythos, something a little bit less redundant. This guy's voice should be a little bit more on the comedic side. I can't exactly remember what he sounded like in 2000X, and no, I don't have that 2000X Staction figure. I'd love to have it, but those things are just too flippin' expensive at this point. It sucks because I never got Clawful when he was cheap. But at any rate, we're not talking about him. We're talking about Stinkor here. And as far as his articulation goes, it's the standard stuff for the Masterverse line. He's got the kind of double ball peg in the head here, so he can look side to side. He can look up and down a little bit. It's mostly just a shimmy. And I have the head without the gas mask on it, on him, for the time being, because it was how he was packaged. His shoulders go out to the side, they go back down, go forward and back. He's got a bicep swivel, double joint at the elbow, pretty stiff, like we're used to seeing in this line. There you go. You can crank on it and get it up all the way, no problem. He does have a swivel and hinge in the wrist. He has a diaphragm joint, which can crunch actually, despite the fact he's got his heavy gear on. And then you can tilt it side to side. Curious if we'll see this reused with a mecha neck, because it does have this backpack piece. I'm very curious about that, but he does look like his vintage counterpart as far as the armor goes, with the exception of, again, the backpack piece where he's got these 2 tanks sticking off his back, which look really good. That's a 2000X thing. I like that a lot. But other than that, this guy is pretty much the Beastman figure as far as reuse goes, and I didn't have the same problem with this guy as I did with that Beastman. Mine's left thigh was a little bit sticky, so I had to take it apart and and shave down a little bit of schmutz off the peg, as well as throw a little soap in there so my Beastman's thigh wouldn't shear the peg off over time. I wasn't really concerned about it now, but over time it probably would have got progressively worse. But at any rate, this guy does have a waist swivel. That works pretty well. He has the standard kind of MOTU style belt, as he should. He does have new lower arms. He's got these kind of glove pieces, whereas Beastman had the little wristbands. His hips kick forward and back, out, back, down. Didn't have to do any modification to these hips to get them to work. They work just fine. His thigh cuts do work really well. This one's kind of stuck. Hold on. There we go. Yeah, no issues there. Those are fine. It's got a double joint in the knee. Works pretty well. It's got a swivel in the boot. Now, as far as his boots go, I think they package them backwards. Because this little kind of, I don't know what you want to call that, line, indentation, seam, I don't know what you want to call this. But this should be facing the front, because the way the ankles sit on the hinge joint here, this is how they sit on the Skeletor figure. Well, unfortunately, I left on the other side of the room, so I can't go get him for comparison. But this is how the feet are supposed to sit on this figure, I imagine. And, you know, he's got the hinge and the ankle and stuff, as well as the rocker and peg holes at the bottom of the feet. But, you know, you're just going to have to swivel the boot around and finesse that foot to where it's facing forward. And you should be good to go. And he stands a little bit better this way, too. So, with that being said, that is the Stinkor in a nutshell. So now it is time that we move on and take a look at some size comparisons. First up here is this Stinkor next to a couple other figures from the Masterverse line, Stinkor, and my personal favorite, Scareglow. Next up, here he is alongside a couple other characters as they appeared post-Time Jump in the MOTU Revelation series, Teela and Beastman, who of course Stinkor shares some parts with. And last but certainly not least, we have our two regulars, the Mythic Legion's Brother Mandibulus, 11 Spawn, who's not towering over everyone today because Stinkor wins by just the tips of his ears there. So with that being said, time to wrap things up. Some final thoughts. Overall, and even though this Stinkor here didn't last very long in the Masters of the Universe Revelation series, he is still by far one of my favorite figures in the Masterverse line thus far. And if you were paying any attention to the fine folks over at Mattel recently, you know that they dropped a bomb on us, showing off all kinds of new Masterverse and Origins related product that will be coming out throughout the next year. And in case you are interested in hearing my thoughts on all of that, I will leave a link in the description below to my good buddy Vampire's channel, where we talked about all the new reveals that Mattel had to offer for the Masters of the Universe line. So check that out if you are so inclined at your own leisure. But back to Stinkor here. If you are at all a fan of the original design of Stinkor or the 2000X design of Stinkor, in my case that is, this figure is definitely going to tick a lot of boxes for you, and I highly suggest you track him down sooner rather than later, because I feel like he is going to be a bit of a sleeper hit in this line. He's not everyone's favorite, but he is one of the many beloved weirdos of the Masters of the Universe mythos. But speaking of ticking a lot of boxes, silly me forgot to compare the Masterverse Stinkor here to his Origins counterpart. So there you go, and you know, he doesn't stink, much like this Origins figure. Well, this Origins figure does have a smell, but it's more like a molasses or a burnt tire or something. But if you were interested, you could pop this guy's head off and pop this Revelations head on. It's a little tricky, but can be done. And now you have Stinkor with a unique head sculpt. That's not just a merman repaint. So, I don't know. I debated on having my Origin Stinkor rock this look just because I like it quite a bit. But for now, I will leave the traditional head on just so I don't get an angry mob with pitchforks and torches and the whole 9 yards coming after me in the comments below. Because I'm sure that probably irked a couple of you, but, you know, that's what we do here at Overlord Productions. We like to press people's buttons, people. But with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this review. If you are so inclined, please don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you know whenever I upload more reviews like this one. If you haven't already, please hit me up on Instagram at Overlord Productions. But as always, keep comments civil. This world sucks enough as it is. Until next time, I'll catch you guys later.